So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Speaking podcast. I'm Marcel from Speaking, Asia's largest learning platform for professional growth through one-to-one coaching and group learning sessions. In today's episode, we have a distinguished leader from Malaysia, Dr. Raslan, who will share personal and corporate journey, insights on and leadership, and much more. Introducing the guest, our guest today, Dr. Raslan. So let me give you a brief introduction of Dr. Raslan himself. Dr. Raslan has over 19 years of experience in talent and development across government, private, and non-profit sectors. In Khazanah, he managed HR operations emphasizing recruitment, engagement, and integrating ESG and DEI principles, which with a focus of employee well-being. He played a key role in developing Malaysia's national education blueprint from 2013 till 2025 and the Malaysia Future Leader School, which aims at youth development and leadership. His current efforts are directed towards effort, enhancing graduate industry readiness, emphasizing digital upskilling and coaching in university settings to boost productivity and competitiveness. So, welcome Dr. Raslan to the podcast today. Dr. Raslan, how are you?
Good morning, Marcel. I'm good, thank you.
All right. So let's proceed to the first question that we would all like to know. So, Dr. Raslan, what are some of the important lessons you have learned in your career, and how do you continue to grow and evolve as a leader?
Yeah, I think maybe to start off, I think it would be worth sort of giving a brief kind of context in terms of what I've gone through. I think I would describe my journey as my professional journey as a meandering journey, in the sense that I am currently in HR full time, but my journey towards HR was a bit more animated than what most people would like to think. So essentially, I started off after my PhD in engineering without much clarity in terms of what I wanted to do. But it's so happened that, in Khazanah, there were quite a number of good opportunities for me to explore. And I think one of the biggest things that led me to where I am today is really about, education and talent development from my early days in Khazanah. So looking at how the education system in Malaysia could be improved to serve as a pipeline to the Malaysia's talent in the long run. So I think in terms of some of the important lessons that helped me so far is essentially as a leader, values and vision are important. I think that clarity is important to be able to rally people around a cause, right, and winning their hearts, especially when change is necessary, but at the same time tough to do. And the other thing that I picked up would be the understanding that people thrive in their comfort zones, and it's not so easy to get past that inertia for change. Not so, whether they're individuals, what more as an organization or institution. So I think that's one key thing. I think in order to evolve as an effective leader, continuous learning through opportunities in new projects or assignments, mixing with younger folks as they come into the workforce, as well as, how do we combine the wisdom of the more senior folks together with the current and the more junior ones to help shape not just the culture of an organization, but how Malaysia grows as an economy. So I think those are some key things. But I think another point that I would like to also remark is, as a leader, and is probably underestimated at times, but it's very important. I think the skill of listening is important. And that is something that is not second nature to many people. Even though we have 2 ears and one mouth, but I think we should really reflect and look at how we can pay attention to effective listening rather than always, speaking or directing people. Yeah, so I think listening is a key skill for leaders to consciously practice as they go along their daily lives.
Well, I completely agree with what your point of view in terms of listening and how it plays a pivotal role in the leadership. So let's proceed on to the second question that we would like to know. So, with your role, how do you see the role of HR evolving in the next 5 years, especially in the context of technological advancement as well as remote work?
Yeah, so I think in terms of HR, apart from the transactionary nature of the work, whether you're dealing with, recruitment, or whether you're dealing with payroll, for example, or even doing, some of the engagements that organizations need to do to ensure that their staff are taken care of. I think what's important is the mindset of HR leaders. I believe that, moving away, from just merely being a transactionary or back office role to a more strategic and influencing role in shaping how the business is run. So I think, there is this function that I took on a couple of years ago called business partnering. I think that helped me understand the business better, because in that role, you are meant to engage, you're the frontliner, so to speak, with the business leaders. And, if you don't understand what the business does, or, what's its core product, then it's your role as the HR leader may not be so effective in trying to see how the talent that you bring in or develop could actually help with innovation, for example, and creativity. So I think the point is basically, how can HR leaders become more strategic to the business, more influential to the C-suites, apart from being good in, ensuring that the back end processes are carried out. So I think in terms of today's context, in terms of technology application, what we've seen, or what I've seen in my role is, we've got a lot of tools that, talent out there, students are, quite familiar with. For example, the use of ChatGPT. I think that's quite widespread. But in recruitment, how do you ensure that, ChatGPT is not misused or abused by those who are applying, right? So as HR practitioners or as recruiters, we need to ensure that the work or the product that they are sending over is authentic. But how do you know it's authentic? You only know that by not just by reading the material, but also by questioning them. So I think the human touch is needed. It's part of technology. Another, for example, we know LinkedIn very well. How do we push platforms such as LinkedIn to get, the more junior folks to start networking and exploring other areas that they may not be aware of? And, as I said earlier, how do we ultimately combine the wisdom of the seniors and juniors to shape the culture of an organization? I think in terms of the other part of remote work or flexible working arrangement, I believe, and, I think my organization believes that remote work is here to stay. And it's not so much about what happened during COVID that changed the culture of many organizations, but I think the nature of, especially what my organization does in terms of its mandate, is quite complex. People do many things at different locations and in different time zones. So I think remote work is something of second nature, where people will need to dial in from wherever they may be, not because they need to stay at home, but because they need to be at other places doing many, many other things. So that's a form of kind of remote work that we do. Apart from, we understand that there are sometimes working mothers that need to attend to their kids, or there could be some emergency that they need to be at home. Then, as far as where we have come, we have, empowered managers and leaders to decide what's best for their team, as long as at the end of the day, they deliver and they're productive. And, nobody is at a point of extremes. So what I mean is, when I say point of extremes, is that we don't want the organization to be everyone being forced to come to office on one end, and at the end, nobody comes to office. So we have that balance that we need to strike. But I must say that it took time, for the organization and for the leaders to be mature about it. So ultimately, it's all about avoiding extremes. It's about applying common sense to what's best to your team. But at the end of the day, it's all about trust. I think if the organization has got, teams and leaders that trust one another, then I don't think remote work or flexible working arrangement is an issue.
Well, I think that's a great insight from you in terms of the remote work as well as the implementation of technology right now in a majority of the corporate world itself. But enough about the working area. We would like to know about your personal journey and what it actually reached to you. So, can you share a defining moment in your personal journey that significantly impacted your career path and leadership style?
Okay, I think this is a very good question, and I took time to reflect what would it be, because there have been many personal or defining moments. But I think it's worth sharing something that's more recent. Just a few months ago, when I took up a certification in coaching with ICF. Of course, when you talk about coaching and mentoring, sometimes they are used kind of interchangeably, but they kind of serve different purposes. But that's one point. The other point is that coaching in most setups, organizations, is seen negatively, if I may say that, because it's always seen as something that you need to fix a problematic individual or staff, right? So you send this person to coaching. So he's got a certain stigma, but I think through my experience of getting that certification, it opened my eyes in terms of the skills that you pick up during coaching, not just to kind of help people who may have issues or problem at work, but also as a leader, because I think it really uh, opens up your perspective in terms of, how do you help or empower other people to try and solve a problem. So coaching has got this empowering, and it in a way takes off this burden, as a leader or manager, from you trying to solve the problem of the individual, but to actually guide and empower the individual to try and figure out what will be the best solution. I think that concept of coaching has been quite refreshing. And, it's not just about it's not just about, professional work, but you can also apply that, in your personal life in a way that is, appropriate or tactful, whether you're dealing with your friends or whether dealing with your spouse, because there's always issues and challenges every day. Almost, so there are certain techniques in coaching that allows you to kind of get the other side to reflect and probably think about how I could go about, solving that issue I may have. So I think in a broader sense, at an organization level, we are trying to inculcate a coaching culture among not just, uh, staff, but also in particular leaders, because we feel that leaders, they are, always together with their team. And there's always issues that they will come about as leaders. So rather than leaders telling HR, go and solve this guy's problem or this lady's problem, perhaps there could be certain skills of inquisition, of kind of reflection within the leader to then drive that coaching conversation straight away without relying too much on HR. So I think that coaching culture is still in its infancy within my organization, but it's something that we would like to push as a leadership competency agenda in the longer run.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Aslam, for your insight, especially on coaching. And we definitely understand the importance of coaching in terms of the enterprise level and how the efficiency would allow mid-level guys to actually understand and be more efficient in their work and work together as a team as well. So,
Yes.
with that, thank you so much, Dr. Aslam, for sharing your valuable insight and experience with us today. It was a pleasure having you on the Speaking podcast. To our listener, thank you for tuning in and stay connected with us for more inspiring conversation with Asia's top leaders. Do not forget to subscribe and follow us on our LinkedIn or YouTube platform. Till next time, this is Marcel signing off.
Thank you, Marcel.
Bye.